Hello everyone! Let's take a look at another open world sci-fi MMO game, Population Zero. Closed beta will start on September 19, so it's a good time to learn more about the game. Population Zero is an online game about the struggle for survival in a dangerous alien world 470 light years from Earth. That happens on a planet Kepler 438b. Starvation and thirst, illnesses and poisoning, freezing and overheating are there the moment you arrive. To survive in harsh conditions, the players will need to scavenge resources and gather loot from slayed monsters. The danger on Kepler is its inhabitants. Thanks to wide variety of local fauna, players will never feel bored. The higher the player's level, the more challenging enemies they will encounter. That's what we are promised. Developers want to create a world that would be appealing for groups of players as well as lone players, with PvP, PvE, crafting, building, storyline, animal taming, elite boss fights, and all that through survival gameplay. And players will need to eat and drink quite often, as that gives additional bonuses to your character. Developed by Russian game company called Enplex in Unity 3D since 2016, and team size is around 50-55 developers, with experience working on games like Allods Online, Skyforge, Hearthstone, Heroes of Might and Magic 5, the Blitzkrieg series, World of Tanks, World of Warships, Forsaken World and others. Enplex secured funds from an independent investor who believed in their project in its prototype form. Plus, they have launched Founders Program, where you can buy Founders packages. But it's not necessity and players can sign up and test the game for free, if lucky. Developers consider the game to be more theme park than sandbox. The community of players will be divided into colonies and factions, constantly conflicting with each other for territories, resources and technologies. You will be able to fight hostile players, destroy their bases and seize resource-rich lands. Opposing factions have its own philosophy and unique abilities. Factions are one of the essential parts of Kepler's lore. Each faction is going to have its own unique stats, leveling and crafting systems. Faction choice affects the plot movement and character's development. There are 3 factions in Population Zero at the moment and more are coming. Xenobiot, Technocrat and Void, which is a kind of transition between the first two. Technocrats do not accept the alien nature of Kepler and only use it in their favor, while Xenobiots adapt to the new world and accept Kepler as their home. Technocrats see Kepler flora and fauna as a threat and resources. But for Xenobiots the planet is sacred and the aliens are there to provide and become allies. At launch, there will be only official servers, and player-run private servers might appear only if there's enough interest. All sounds nice, but the fact that servers will have a limit of several hundred players makes it all much less appealing to me. So it's more like a multiplayer game than MMO. Well, this all reminds me of similar survival games, multiplayer games like Conan Exiles, Rust or ARK, where developers drop some content and expect players to fill the gaps, which basically means the game will be great for 10-20 hours maybe, while all is new and fresh, and then it gets boring. To Enplex credit, I must say that the world is handcrafted, so expect all points of interest look unique and beautiful. By the time of the release, devs plan to have 3 huge biomes, but some of them will open up for players after reaching a certain level of progress. Each of biomes will be divided into smaller areas with different features, monsters, settings. There also will be underground locations of all sizes, where players can find unique resources, and some resources are only obtainable at night. The map size will be around 24 square kilometers on release, but with all underground locations, the real size of the world will be much larger. Global market for trading is planned as well as direct trade between players, and barter is the main mechanic. Everything is currency. The creatures that inhabit Population Zero will become for the player not just a source of valuable resources but clever and skillful enemies, each of which is unique in its behavior and abilities and has its own role in the ecosystem of the planet. Both the individual and collective behavior of the inhabitants of the world will be controlled by complex algorithms, responsible for the interaction of all life forms of alien flora and fauna. Creatures will interact with each other, they fight, hunt and even gather in packs. And player who tries to escape any predator can try and switch its focus to a more juicy target. We'll see if devs will really manage to create interesting algorithms for NPCs, otherwise it will be just another silly NPC world. Population Zero will use action-based combat model, and according to their ideas, the fighter will monitor the state of an opponent with visual effects like wounds, rather than see health bars hanging above enemy heads. Devs are working on a system where blocks, dodges, slides, and all that kind of stuff is actually turning your experience into tactic melee combat, possibly a little bit similar to the Dark Souls games. There'll be ranged weapons too. Devs want player skill to be a decisive factor in PvP and not player level. Overall balance for player strength is 30% from perks and 70% from equipment. And another major game feature in Population Zero is mutations. The colonists will quickly notice supernatural forces on Kepler, as well as hostility of the local environment. Some areas on Kepler are toxic and most of the water sources are poisonous. At some point, colonists receive a mutation-related quest and only Xenobiotes faction can mutate. Mutation will change the appearance, skills and gameplay mechanics for the player. Players will have different kind of weapons and even use their fists. Hammers, axes and knives are firstly made for getting resources, while swords and spears are real military weapons with high damage rate. Also, weapons have different types of damage: slashing for axes and swords, piercing for knife and spear, and crushing for hammers. Well, nothing sci-fi here. Players can get up to 4 resources depending on what weapons they use, as different types of damage provides with different resources. There are 3 basic weapon types made from stone, bractus or xenofungus. When colonists build their first workbenches, they can craft more complex weapons. Players can learn perks while performing different activities. There are conditions which need to be fulfilled in order to get each perk, and they are hidden from player. In essence, how good or helpful a perk can be is randomized drop when it's unlocked. And when you die or are killed by an enemy player, you can drop your perks. Perks can change parameters and statistics, unlock new combat skills and strikes, unlock new recipes and schematics. So during PvP fight we might not even know what kind of attacks enemy has unlocked. The conditions for obtaining these can be quite different and unexpected, from kill 100 alien animals to stand on the highest mountain's top of the initial biome for several minutes. The same perk can be earned in multiple ways, well, at least some diversity, but how many times we will have to deal with those kill X creatures tasks? That really turns a game into something tedious and unimmersive. A perk can be temporary, permanent and saved. What does this mean? Obtained perks start affecting character instantly, and the number of these perks is conditionally unlimited. Such perks are called temporary. The major difference is that character loses temporary perks when they die. Perks that you consider the most valuable can be converted by the player into permanent. You will not lose those perks in the event of untimely demise. The number of permanent perks is limited, and you will have to think twice before making one of them permanent. Unneeded perks can be dismantled for special resources. Saved perks also will not going to be lost in the case of character's death. These perks do not affect your character, they exist in a virtual storage because they are not currently equipped to your character. In general, the probability to obtain a perk is regulated by a complex system. If you don't receive a perk for a long time, your chances of obtaining one will increase. Additionally to perks, there is science tech tree in Population Zero, and there are 4 kinds of science at the moment: survival, mechanic, metallurgy and chemistry. And even if you die, this knowledge stays with you. The higher the science level, the more available technologies and related production schemes you will have. Your science level is increased by exploring different objectives in the game: minerals, plants, animals and so on. Players can't master every technology. Their goal with tech and science is to make sure that players have to build an actual character. Players can build houses, and every structure players build will have a special claim zone, with its borders marked with flags. A clan has a maximum of building areas on the map. There might be locks and protective mechanisms for high-tier buildings, which will grant individual access to some rooms, and no personal buildings can be built inside clan complex. There are 2 distinct areas for construction. The first area has full owner building privilege, while the second one is a buffer zone between your personal space and somebody else's potential personal space. That second zone allows anyone to build on it, and it might be smart to build a fence there. If you want to conquer other players' base, you will have to destroy a set percentage of their structures, excluding fences. After reaching the threshold, you will be able to claim the land. Building will be blocked near the initial spawn locations, specific resource areas and public spaces, so no building everywhere. Every building block takes a little bit of time to finish itself and players place it. During that time, players can cancel anything and get their resources back. When the block is fully built, players can still dismantle it, but will only get half of what they spent to build it. There is a durability and weight system in place to ensure that no structure looks unnatural, to make it impossible to build skyscrapers out of sticks and stones. This mechanic makes raiding other players a big part of the experience, for you to discover weaknesses in structural integrity of their buildings in order to bring them down. And, depending on your character's progression, the space in which you can build becomes larger. Let's conclude. Players can hunt, participate in raids, confront other players, explore the world around, get social. There will be quests, both initial ones that guide new players through the basic game mechanic and those revealing the plot. There will be an AI friend, Gordon, who accompanies colonists since the very beginning and provides players with primary tips and instructions. If you want to start testing the game, apply on the webpage and hope that you will get access for free, or buy your way in with any of the founders' packages. The monetization model has not been decided yet, and this is weird to me, because Enplex is selling founders' packages without deciding if game will be free to play, pay to play or buy to play. But I expect in-game shop to be set up at some point. I would definitely wait on spending my money before Enplex comes clean about their monetization model. The game also is under NDA, so we can't see any in-game footage or learn about player experience. Also, if you hate PvP, then it will be hard to play this game while completely avoiding any form of PvP. Most of game mechanics in Population Zero are already being used in many other games. And all in all, this game at this point doesn't look impressive to me, at least before I learn more about how their NPC truly react to players and what kind of storyline and quest system they will have. Like, dislike, subscribe and tell me, what do you think about Population Zero? Are you interested in a mix between MMO and survival? See you soon.